Hello, first graders. Welcome to our last session of the reading for our nonfiction book, Too Hot, Too Cold. In this last section, we are continuing our discussion of the main heading, What We Do to Be Warm or Cold. We talked a lot about different ways that animals could warm up or cool off by their actions in our last reading, right? Remember we talked about people using a fan to cool off and animals going up high in a tree or on a cliff to cool off. And we talked about other animals sitting in hot baths, those Japanese monkeys sitting in the hot springs, 109 degrees to heat up. That would certainly heat you up. And the bison in Yellowstone National Park, staying next to the steam from the underground geysers. Yeah, there's lots of different ways animals can warm up or cool down. We also talked about how animals come inside, right? Like the wombat going into its underground burrow in the summer to cool down and in the winter to warm up. We also mentioned cold-blooded animals and how cold-blooded animals can't maintain their constant body temperature, so they have to do special things to survive in the winter. Some fish go to the bottom of ponds where it's warmer, and we even talked about frogs and other cold-blooded animals going under leaves or mud and going to sleep, being inactive or dormant for the winter. We're going to read more about that today. What is that called when animals go to sleep for the winter? Who remembers the word for that? You're right. It's hibernating. And that is one of our subheadings that we're going to read about today. How animals hibernate to help them survive the cold temperatures of winter. And we have another word, estivating. We haven't talked about estivating, so we're going to find out what estivating is. And migrating. What is migrating? What does that mean? And what are some animals that migrate? Yes, you're right. Migrating is moving to a warmer place for the winter, like birds, geese, and hummingbirds migrate. And whales, like the humpback whale, also migrate to warmer waters, to warmer oceans in the winter. Okay, let's find out how hibernating, estivating, and migrating help animals to survive the very cold temperatures of winter. Hibernating. Some warm-blooded animals deal with cold weather by hibernating through the winter. Their breathing and heart rate slow, and their temperature drops. Body fat is converted to energy. Because the animals are inactive, they can survive on very little energy. They may remain inactive for just a few days or up to several months. So it's only warm-blooded animals that actually hibernate. So what we were saying before about frogs and toads and cold-blooded animals, they don't actually hibernate. They're dormant but that's a little bit different, okay? Because warm-blooded animals have the fat that they can live off of, and they don't have to eat. So they're actually asleep, and they're not eating. They're living off of their body fat, like bats. A long hibernation. These are little brown bats. Many bats hibernate through the winter in caves or hollow trees. A little brown bat may hibernate for up to 83 days. Its body temperature drops almost to freezing. It breathes only once a minute, and its heart rate slows from 400 to 25 beats a minute. Wow. That's a big difference. 400 beats a minute to only 25. Torpor. Even during the summer, a bat's body temperature varies. During the day, when the bat is inactive, remember bats sleep during the day, its body temperature drops several degrees. This is called daily torpor. Torpor helps the bat save energy for flying at night. So even in the summer, bats don't hibernate, but their body temperature drops during the day to help them save energy. So they have lots of energy to fly at night. Estivating. Let's pay special attention to this because we haven't heard this word before. See if you can tell me what estivating is after I'm done reading. Estivating. Sometimes animals that live in very hot climates slow down their bodies in the summer or during dry periods. This kind of inactivity is called estivation and is similar to hibernation. Lungfish, which live in Africa and South America, estivate by burrowing into mud and becoming dormant when rivers and water holes dry up. So what is estivating? How is it different from hibernating? Yes, you're right. Hibernating is what animals do in the winter to save energy. They become dormant. And estivating is what animals do in the summer to save energy. Animals that live in very, very hot climates, it's like they go to sleep in order to survive when there's hardly any water, like the lungfish in Africa. A short hibernation. A chipmunk usually hibernates for just a few days at a time, waking up periodically to eat food that it has stored in its underground den. The chipmunk's body warms when it wakes up to eat and then cools when it goes back to its inactive state. So chipmunks don't hibernate in the same way that bears hibernate. They sort of wake up, go back to sleep, wake up, go back to sleep. Oh, this is the picture of the lungfish in Africa and how in the hot, dry period in the summer, they go down into the mud and actually go to sleep. So they don't need as much water during the period when there is no rain. That shows the hole that it makes in the mud. And then the rain comes and the lungfish comes back out. A hibernating bird. Have you ever heard of a hibernating bird? I haven't. A hibernating bird. Most birds do not hibernate. Most of them migrate, right? But one exception is the common porwheel, a nocturnal bird found in western North America. Hidden among rocks, the common porwheel may remain inactive for weeks or months at a time. And it has camouflage blending into the rocks. Migrating. Some animals leave their homes or migrate when the weather gets too cold or too hot. So it could go either way. I always think of migrating as animals going to a warmer place when the weather's too cold. But it can mean that also that they can go to a cooler place when the weather is too hot. In the northern hemisphere, some animals go south for the winter and north for the summer. In the southern hemisphere, they move north in winter and south in summer. Many birds migrate. So do some fish, turtles, butterflies, and mammals like reindeer and caribou. Animals migrate to find food, safe places for their babies, and a more comfortable climate. And this is the ruby-throated hummingbird. It has a red throat. These are greater white-fronted geese, both birds that migrate. Winter in Mexico. Ruby-throated hummingbirds spend the summer in the United States and Canada, sipping nectar from summer flowers. In fall, as the weather turns cool and plants stop flowering, the hummingbirds fly south to Mexico for the winter. Because what is the hummingbird's food? Yes, it's nectar from flowers. And can they find this food in the winter in North America and Canada? No. So they have to go south to Mexico in order to find flowers to drink nectar from. And here is the humpback whale. Winter in Hawaii. Pacific humpback whales spend the summer in the oceans of Alaska. But when winter comes and the oceans begin to freeze, they swim to the warm waters of Hawaii. Too hot? Too cold? Just right. And this is the conclusion. This is the heading for our conclusion, the conclusion of our book. The conclusion is the ending. You feel best when you are not too hot and not too cold. Your body helps keep you at the right temperature. Your behavior helps you to adjust your temperature too. People and animals live in hot places and cold places all over the world. Whether you live in the icy Arctic like a polar bear, a steamy tropical rainforest like a tree frog, or the vast Sahara Desert like a fennec fox, you can stay warm or cool in every climate. People and animals find ways to keep their body temperature just right. And that is the end of the book. Thank you very much for listening. In this session, we focused on hibernating, estivating, and migrating. Can you turn and tell mom or dad or brother or sister what it means to hibernate? Yes, hibernating is when warm-blooded animals go to sleep for the winter to save energy so that they can live off of their body fat instead of having to eat when food is, what's that word that means not very much is available, you can't find it? When food is scarce. Good job. What does it mean to estivate? Can you turn and tell mom and dad or brother or sister what it means when an animal estivates? Like the lungfish in Africa? You're right. It means when an animal becomes dormant or goes to sleep during the summer to save energy and also to survive the heat, to survive times when there's no water. And what does it mean to migrate? About the animals that migrate. Can you turn and tell mom and dad or brother and sister what it means for an animal to migrate? Yes, it means when animals move to a different place in order to find food, in order to be able to find safe places for their young, and to survive in cooler or warmer temperatures. When it becomes too hot or too cold, they migrate to a different place. Well, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this book and get ready for our flip grid discussion question. I can't wait to hear from you. Bye.